Regular board meeting for Thursday, April 25th, 2024 to order at 5:30. Item 2, roll call.
John Martin, present.
Stacy Popovich, present.
Troy Stinson, present.
Kelsey Ives, present.
And that is a quorum. Sherry notified us she couldn't be here due to a funeral. So all motion would excuse her.
I'll second.
And any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And director disclosures, item 3.
No conflicts.
Right. Item 4, approval or disapproval of the agenda. Anybody have any amendments or changes to the agenda? No?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that motion. Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. 4-0. All right, item 5, President's welcome. We don't have any of the public in here, but welcome everybody watching at home. Eventually, I see the meeting got up, 2 days ago from last month. So appreciate that. As long as we can keep them going up before the next meeting, that's awesome. Somebody want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Public comment, item 6, public comment regarding current board business not on the agenda. All right, having seen none, we'll move on. Item 7, approval or disapproval of the March 28th, 2024 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
All right, have a motion.
haven't seen them, so.
I wasn't here, so I couldn't tell you whether they're right or not.
What's in the packet is the red line version from attorneys, so it's already down to you there.
So you guys have already looked at them?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we're good.
So we got a motion by Kelsey to approve, I'll second it. Any other discussion on them? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 8, approval or disapproval of March financials.
Okay. I'm not switching. Sorry, hold on.
Oh, I thought it was like a video. It said video from Carter. I was like, is this a video presentation? You're not even gonna speak to us anymore in the meeting? It's just a video
So, record
presentation.
myself.
Got a video to get on there.
Hold on. All right, so for month end of 3/31/2024, what you have in front of you is the summary, so revenue summary. Total summary for actual was $1,108,553 on a budget for the total district of $1,055,962, so a $52,000 positive variance. As we talked about kind of the first 2 weeks of the year, we knew it was kind of slow with building. We have seen some of those invoices come in, so you can see that specifically looking at like water and sewer. So water has a favorable variance of 46,000. Sewer had a negative variance about 27,000, but much smaller variances in the first 2 months of the year. So we're starting to close that gap and fully expect that to continue from a revenue perspective, especially on water. We're about to hit irrigation season, so assuming we don't have another wet irrigation season, we're gonna see that money really coming in. Also, because of the changes that we made to like irrigation accounts, we're still gonna see revenue coming in that in normal previous years we never saw, because if it was a wet, then we got nothing. Whereas now, there's a base fee that every irrigation account pays no matter what. So you're still gonna see some revenue come in even if it's wet. So I don't have really any issues. Again, big call out to Marcus and his team over there. You see another favorable variance, almost 33,000. Look at overall total variance for him for the year. He's already 26% up on the year. So great job over there just from a overall revenue perspective. And again, very excited to see what Marcus and his team do as we get into the summer months as well. So any questions about just high overview revenue before I go into expenses? Okay. Overall district expenses came in at 458,194. Budget was 879,033, so positive variance of 420,000. Knock on wood, we're just not seeing a lot of crazy invoicing coming in right now, whether it's repairs and maintenance. I know I just said it, and now it's gonna happen. We have spent significant money so far in the year, but that's been capital funds that were budgeted for. All of those projects are on target. I meant to bring kind of a capital project, some analysis for you guys today. I was not able to get that with all of the IT things I've been trying to get figured out this week. But next board meeting, I will bring that for you guys so you can see how we're doing to budget on those capital projects. Okay. So really no major call outs from a summary perspective. We're still watching ideally the R&M expenses as they're coming in. We're watching our legal expenses and just doing the best that we can to mitigate any potential risks that there are on the expense side. But again, so far it's been fairly smooth. We're only 3 months in, so.
We'll take it.
Yeah. Do you guys want a deeper dive on each of the enterprises, or are you comfortable with the summary review?
I'm good with the summary.
No summary.
Treasurer.
Summary's great.
Okay. All right, so overall, the net revenue, came in at 650,360 on a budget of 176,928. So for the month, positive variance of 473,431. So year-to-date actuals, 1.3 million actual positive variance on net income versus a budget of 982,000. So again, doing really well, keeping expenses low, keeping revenue where it needs to be. Total revenue is only going to get better as we get into the middle of this year, where we still have developer invoices that are outstanding that are pretty significant from both system development fees and WAFs. We also have not seen a single TAP or system development fee paid by Challenger for the remaining of their building that they're doing this year in that filing. So that's supposed to be around 50 some odd homes this year. So again, we're missing a lot of capital from those types of things that are expected to come in throughout the next, I would say, 6 months. Unless something crazy happens in the economy. Then it could be positive or negative. I don't know. That crystal ball is not working right now.
Buy a new one.
I will.
Buy a magic 8-ball.
Will the
Probably
economy
more
get better?
accurate.
Any questions?
I got no- yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the financials.
Second.
All right, motion by Stacy, second by John. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Item 9, discuss website accessibility memo and review the vendor proposals.
Yeah, so this is a pretty complicated one here. New legislation was passed a few years back that takes effect currently on July 1st of this year. It's possible this gets extended out, but currently, by July 1st of this year, the district's website and all of the documents on the website must be made into an accessible format. That is to say, if I was using a screen reader, for example, the coding in the back of the website would read the headers in the correct order. The colors wouldn't have, say, red, green on top, so if I was colorblind, I would be able to read all the text. If there's an image, and a screen reader's reading it, it'll tell you what the image is without being able to see it. So this is in part a website correction. It's also a document correction. All the documents on the website must also be remediated, is the name of the term, turned into an accessible format. So if someone, let's say, opens our agenda, their screen reader will then read the agenda in the correct order and be able to understand the subject matter. And this is there's a lot of layers to this, and it's very complicated stuff, at least to me. So it's gonna be everything from, a link where if you scrolled over, it would be, Woodman Hills Metropolitan District /agenda. You know what that is. If it came up /267, sometimes you've seen those, links that go on forever, that wouldn't be acceptable. The red blue is another example, wouldn't be acceptable. A good example might be, I've seen with our Parks and Rec district, sometimes we put an image up, it might say like movie night, but it's actually one big photograph. There's no actual text on it, but the text is in the image itself. A screen reader couldn't read that. So you have a problem with accessibility right there. Now, so the question is, how to best address this by July 1st. There's been a couple groups that have kind of focused on special districts and making their websites and documents accessible. And basically, this is what we have the proposals for in the packet. Streamline is kind of the big one. We've seen a lot of districts going to Streamline. The nice thing about what they do is, well, for example, when they did a presentation for us, they actually took our law firm's website and made it accessible and basically rebuilt the entire website and then showed us kind of how to run through it. And they basically give you a website template, and then they kind of put a straitjacket on it to make it so you can't mess it up badly. And if you do mess it up, it then tells you that you're messing it up and you can go back and correct it. So that's kind of our main recommendation for adjusting it. Dan and I have talked a little bit about this as well. And it sounds like something where if you had a chance to kind of review these, or I'll just kind of see if any would, because I know you currently support the website. Are there any that, I guess, cater towards, something you think you continue to provide in terms of services?
So, I think what I do with the website now is simply a bit of updating with certain types of documents. Marcus's team updates it with other types of documents. I imagine that if we want to, we'll be able to continue with that procedure regardless of which vendor we choose. Mm-hmm. So I think we should choose the least expensive, most efficient. And,
okay.
And it seems like, I gather that Streamline's your recommendation.
Yeah, Streamline is for simplicity's sake. There's three main proposals in here. The first is SIPA, it's the government's website. Basically, we'd have to go through a process for about the next 2 months. It costs a fair amount up front, but then Woodman Hills gets the .gov at the end of its name. We'd still have to pay for remediating documents before we put them up there, but the website platform becomes SIPA. On one other end, we have another vendor we use for some of our smaller districts. Heatherly Creative is the name of the company. She does a lot of kind of our smaller districts websites where it's very basic. You have kind of 5 options across the top. You add a few documents, you take them down. Because of kind of the extensive nature of Woodman's website and kind of the amount of services this district provides with the Parks and Rec notices, email blasts, posting of agendas, minutes, and things of that nature, I tend to recommend Streamline just 'cause I think it'll be the least likely to have problems later on. It's about, in terms of price, in the end, it'll be about the same as Heatherly Creative. It would be more expensive in the long run than SIPA. But I think for the moment, you know, expediency is going to be important because we do have this deadline in front of us for the time being. So kind of getting there is kind of the first goal.
So at one point in time, something was mentioned about us being grandfathered in because we became a district before 2000.
Great question. So I'm going to start kind of circling back kind of the bigger picture here. So if the district has a website, it has to be remediated, documents have to be accessible, and the website has to be accessible. This district was formed prior to 2000, which means it does not have to have a website. If it chooses to have a website, then these rules apply. It technically does not. Now, I will note that there are certain things that become much easier when you have a website. There are certain notices that the district does on an annual basis that would have to switch to being mailed to residents, for example. Meeting notices would have to be physically posted in a specific location. So if you take it on the website, there's some other headaches that do come with that, but that is technically an option for the district. And I just want to flag one other piece for cost here. The district's website right now has a lot of information on it. Because the district's not required to have a website, there are not specific documents that are required to be on your website. Districts formed after 2000, they have to have their agenda, their minutes, couple budgets, you know, certain documents have to be on there. This district can pick and choose what it wishes to put on there. And I tend to recommend anything that has to be mailed to residents should probably be just put to the website.
Now, when we complete the process of the restated service plan, will that bring us forward from out of the grandfather?
No, so it's from the date of organization. So the organizational date won't change, so you're still good there if you choose not to have a website. In terms of cost, where the expense really comes in on this, you'll see with the proposals, you know, $80 to $120 a month is kind of what we're looking at here. We also, our firm, because we have a lot of district clients, we have a master service agreement now with Streamline. So if the district chooses to go that route, there's no cost for the initial website building or transition. Basically you say, hey, here's the logins for a website. They rebuild the website however you want it for free. Basically it'd be $180 or 120 a month after that.
And then each page costs.
$7. And
So-
this is where it gets really, really expensive.
So my question is,
Specifications?
can we buy the software once they build our website that we can load the pages in?
We have not found a way to do that yet. We have, there are a couple of management companies that have hired people who are familiar with this type of corrections to documents and things like that. The way, so for example, there's two different, basically every one of these website providers has partnered with a different vendor to handle this remediation process. Streamline has someone they've contracted with. That specific firm charges $7 per page no matter what the page is. If you went with SIPA, for example, our firm partners with a company called 24/7 Document Remediation. That starts at $7 a page. It goes up to $15, depending on the complexity of the document itself. So spreadsheets, tables would cost more.
So one meeting
Yeah.
with all of this, thousands of dollars.
So we go.
Although
instead
we
of
don't post
We
it.
don't pass the packet, we only post the agenda.
So
we go
this
through
is,
So there's
But-
more to this.
My understanding is that whatever's on the agenda then would have to be accessible to the public, so this packet would have to be taken.
so,
So that's where I was
yes.
about to go with this, is that long term, what this has the potential to turn into is that every document that we produce, whether we put it on the website or not, is going to have to be ADA compliant.
Yeah.
So is this
and-
taking the place of FOIA and all the other information gathering requests?
No,
Or,
just side by side. So here's kind of, I'm trying to start with the website because it kind of gives you at least a quantifiable view of, you know, something you can tackle in the near term. Fixing a website, picking which documents you want on the website, and then getting them remediated and posted. That's pretty straightforward. Where this gets complicated, if it's not already, is that all documents created by the district starting July 1st will need to be made into an accessible format upon request. If they're posted to the website, if you post a meeting packet to the website, you're going to want to remediate it before you post it. My recommendation on this would be post the agenda, don't post the packet. If somebody comes to you, and this is the other piece of this, someone may request any district document in an accessible form. If someone has an impairment and they say, hey, I need a digital copy of the service plan so my screen reader can read it to me. This is something we would get the service plan remediated, but you don't have to do it until that time. Old documents can stay old documents. They don't have to be proactively remediated. What has to be remediated is what's on the website, what's in regular use by either the public or employees, and new documents being created going forward. And you only have to do that remediation once. Once the service plan has been made accessible, that's a one-time cost, you save it, and you can distribute that exact same version from that point on. But certainly, I understand where you're coming from. If we took every document that's currently on the website and we remediated it, we're probably looking at tens of thousands of dollars, because there's minutes going back 4 or 5 years.
Can they give us an estimate of what it would cost to transition our website currently in its current state over?
I can take a look at that, certainly. So the documents would be the expensive part specifically.
Primarily the foundational documents and everything that are on there.
Yeah.
We would want transferred over, but.
There's a lot on the website that it seems to me we're going to conclude should be removed from the website. So for instance, when I look at the resolutions page, there are folders, annual folders for resolutions going back to 2011.
And I really think that, we need to check into how long do we have to keep documents? Because
I will tell you, anything related to board business is permanent. So,
although
it's just went through this because I did a spring cleanup in our garage.
But they would have to post them, would
Yeah.
they have to keep them?
You just have to keep them. But to John's point is, okay, I have them, but I still have to potentially remediate them either now if they're going on the website or later if someone requests it.
Nobody's gonna ask for a resolution from
From
2011.
30 years ago.
Correct.
Right? It's not gonna happen.
They're just.
some
they're just
people
not.
may in litigation, so.
Yeah, no, in a likely litigation, they would ask for an accessible format, and that's kind of the catch here. Anyone can always ask for any public document, and we provide it. But this is specifically, a cost if it's requested to be made in an accessible format.
Will that include, like, if we take, because in Parks and Recreation, we put a lot of publication on there for flyers and stuff like that. We take those off the website, they're no longer on there, but they're in the facilities.
Mhm.
Does this go to that, where if they see something in the facility,
If it's
they should be able to ask for that?
my understanding is if it's like a physical printout,
Yeah.
the answer is no.
Okay.
If you had like a kiosk or something like that, the answer is yes.
Okay, so physical
And
documents.
the last piece, probably before we kind of try and work down some of the nitty gritty, is that this goes to kind of all documents, interfaces with the public, things like that. So we record these meetings, for example. Recordings, ones after July 1st, will need to have captions added to them. The simplest solution is to post them to YouTube. YouTube will automatically add captions, but more than likely, Dan would have to go through and make corrections because there are common errors in captions that can cause problems for readers. So, unfortunately, this has kind of had the effect where we do see there's some small fire districts, for example, that are just pulling their website and digital information because the cost of compliance is just too much. Districts that can afford it are basically taking the documents they consider to be most essential to their public and what's required by statute and doing just those, and then everything going forward. Like I said, most districts have certain requirements of documents that have to be remediated. We've found that to be about an average about 150 pages what's required for them. For this district, you can pick and choose. We tend to recommend service plan, rules and regs, your current fees, and then maybe your minutes and agenda going forward. You can do budgets. There are certain, you can pick and choose as you go.
On the budget side, I partnered us with a company called ClearGov. So effective this year, we will actually have a digital transparency budget book that will abide by all of those. And so ClearGov will actually take care of all of those ADA requirements for us. So we will not have to worry about that piece.
That's
So
awesome.
you guys will just upload it.
I will actually, they have a website that I use to make sure we put everything in there, and then they will take it and transmit it the way it needs to be done. So we'll post a link to our website for it, and then people will be able to either look it online, or they can take it offline on a PDF, and all versions are ADA compliant.
It really makes you wonder, what are people thinking when they vote to add laws to do these things? Because now they're saying, oh, we want all this digitized and everybody can read it, where people are just gonna not post it, so nobody will see it anyway.
I mean, it's
So they're
cheaper to
taking the
shut it all
information
down,
away.
give everybody a bucket and say, you can go to the well.
It's unfortunate because it clearly serves a good purpose. You want the residents to, be able to review your website, know what's going on, be able to vote. When the cost is made astronomical, we have these challenges. There's one last piece I want to flag that our firm is still working on the details of, and that is the language of statute says that essentially applications and services that are under the district's control, generally speaking, also are required to be remediated. We've taken this, the example they gave us was some districts have like a kiosk you can come up to, like the DMV, you log in on a kiosk, that have to be accessible. This district has a payment portal through a third-party vendor. And even though the district is not in control in the sense that they run that portal, it is an essential function of the people of this district to be able to use that to pay their bills. So our reading currently is that we would have to discuss that with the vendor.
Because they can opt for a paper bill.
Okay, then that may be the answer then. Okay. We do have some districts where it's digital only.
Yeah, we actually provide residents the option to do paperless, or actually both.
Okay.
Question, related to the pay your bill tab. So, although this isn't the case now, in the past, some of the documents that we display on the website currently, we've displayed through like a Google plugin, where you click on a button on the website and then it takes you to a different URL that's no longer woodmanhills.org,
Yep.
but instead it's a Google Drive. And I'm wondering whether those rules would also apply to pages that are linked to on the website but are not part of the website and that they have a different URL.
I would suspect it would depend a little on the nature of the documents. If we said, hey, do you want to run for the board, this coming May? Here's a link to the document. It's available, here. Then that document would probably have to be accessible. I imagine Google Drive probably already is. But I think it would depend a little bit. We have thought that, there's certain things we post to the department, or post to DOLA, for example. Whereas DOLA is going to be, it's their website, they control it, it's a statutory required filing. We don't have to make that accessible on their website. That's going to be their problem. But the ones we post on our website, or are essential for the functioning of the district, kind of fall under our purview. And then kind of one small tidbit, also as part of this, kind of like with the administrative resolution, we assign one person to be kind of front and center that should an issue come up, this is the person you contact, like for a core request or records request, something along those lines. We actually, with this, would recommend assigning a compliance officer, essentially, for the sole purpose that if somebody reaches out and says, hey, this document's on the website, it's not working properly, can you just send this to me in an accessible format? They would be the person just to reply. And we're currently finalizing the actual, our resolutions for that for the board to adopt. Ideally, what we would look for with this meeting is if we can receive some direction on kind of, if Streamline, if Heather Credit, if SIPA, on where we can start going with this. We'll prepare all the documents for approval at the next meeting. And that way we get a little bit of a head start. Every special district in Colorado is trying to get this resolved right now. As you kind of get an understanding of the logistics here, we're a little concerned that we're going to start to see a backlog with some of these service providers because there aren't that many of them by July 1st. So,
For sure.
if you'd like more time, certainly.
How soon can we get a response on as far as moving stuff to Google Drive, or being able to still have a lot of that documentation but have it off the website?
So, for instance, are minutes and agendas going back years, or are resolutions going back to 2011? Let's take the resolutions example. If we moved all of those resolutions over to Google Drive, would it be correct to say that because those resolutions are not an integral part of are not necessary for residents to enjoy the district services, that therefore we don't have to remediate them?
I think you'd still have to. And the main reason being that would be the district's Google Drive. I think if, some resident was like, hey, I'm gonna create my own website, I'm gonna download all the district's documents, I'm just gonna put them up here. The district can't control that, it's not part of the district function. But I don't think there's a way to, circumvent, for lack of a better term, kind of this compliance by moving the document somewhere else. I think it's take down or remediate would be the two options.
I'm a little confused on one thing. You said anything that is produced after July 1 has to be.
Mm.
Anything that was produced prior to July 1, does it need to be? Does it have to be? What do we have to do there?
So the technical term is ICT, is what they refer to as kind of this information technology documents everything that needs to be remediated. They have a term, they don't actually give it a proper term, I'm gonna call it inactive documents, inactive ICT. Essentially, documents that no one really looks at, like old records of the minutes, for example. The community isn't asking for them, the district doesn't actively use them, employees don't actively use them. You can take all of those documents that have been created that are not currently being used for any purpose, set them aside. Those do not have to be remediated at all, ever, except upon request.
Can
Unless they start-
we leave them on the website, or do they come off the website?
You would take them off the website.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everything prior to July 1, I guess, goes off the website. There's
The
no
only-
way we can afford
I mean, that's a
$7
cost burden
page.
we're not gonna put on our community. I mean,
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
we'll just take all the information away. I mean, that's the simple thing, because we can get away with it.
I mean, bottom line, our best move would be to put the bare basics on the website and then make everybody core request it, and they can pay for the cost of the core request and to produce that record under core rules.
It's an interesting question whether a Cora request is now going to be because there are fees associated with Cora requests. Will the person making the Cora request now be responsible for the cost of the remediation of the document?
No, so the accessibility won't be transferred onto the requester. The cost for remediating the document can't transfer. But there's still that slight distinction though, where a core request is for just any public document. This would, if someone was requesting on this format, they'd be specifically asking for it in a remediated and accessible state. I tend to think most core requests probably wouldn't have a fee, just because if someone asks for a copy of the service plan, it's not going to take more than an hour to gather that and produce it. So I don't, they could certainly, in every document could request it through Cora. Truthfully, we don't see a whole lot of them just because it's a bit of a hassle, and you can always just give Carter a call and he's more than willing to accommodate.
And it's on the website currently.
It's also on the website.
I know that the legislature has been dealing with the bill having to do with Cora, and one of the contentious parts of the bill has had to do with, I think the adjective they used is vexatious requesters.
Yes.
Because some people can weaponize the system in order to create,
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, right. And we've seen that in the past in this district. Hopefully we don't again
Is
in
he
the
part of the
future.
case law for that, or?
He should be.
But yeah, no, kind of to get back to what you were saying, John, our recommendation has been to, take a look at your documents, maybe not even the service plan. Can't imagine the last time a resident took a look at the 1995 service plan. They can always request it if they like it. We can always produce it for free. But some of these documents, rules and regs, current fees, agenda minutes. I mean, those tend to be the big ones that if someone's going to go to the Woodman Hills website.
Here's the problem with all this. So you have all this data, public concern for how the district's being run is never a question in this district, because everything's available to the public in this district. Everything. All our documents. Going back as far as we can go. So why would somebody mess with that and not just say, if it's requested in a remediated format, we will provide it in that format? But if it's not, why would they require the change on a district that has been here since 2000? Or basically his grandfather. So we have a big span of documents there that's not required to be remediated unless we put them on the website. I mean, that's basically hurting the community, not helping.
It certainly imposes a cost. And I think, while I don't have a solution to make that go away, adding something to you can always add, something to the district website stating, here are documents available upon request, and just list minutes, agendas, and anyone can then, reach out and request those documents and we can provide them.
As
But-
long as you have those pages compliant.
Right.
Well, no,
At
no.
that point, you'd send it to Streamline and they'd convert it,
So just,
and then they'd send it back to you to send off.
just to be clear, anyone can, let's say someone wants some minutes from 2011, and they don't need any sort of accommodation or accessibility. They can reach out and say, hey, I'd just like to copy the minutes. You can send it to them. That's the end of it. Nothing has to be remediated. It's only if someone says, hey, I would like an accessible format of this document, that's when you would go to that step.
So question was, since I got here from
Yeah.
Parks and Rec, 'cause we do a lot.
Yeah.
Art, can you hit the calendar? So, do the top one. So right now, we have this listed, and if you go to a week, Carter, on that, see how it goes a week, month, is this acceptable?
Top right.
I don't know. So this is one where I actually, so it's kind of like my. it's just
This
like my-
one's gonna be expensive.
Well, and this is direct, we hear this all the time, this is something we've been working on to get it up, because this is actual feedback we're getting from the community of
Yeah.
what they've done.
Absolutely.
And
And this
same
is.
with,
so it's like my work
Something
calendar.
like this, I would be more inclined to pay for. Only because this has direct impact on day-to-day lives of people in the community.
But how would you pay for a calendar?
Now,
That's-
something like this to have remediated is just silly, because this does not have a direct impact on day-to-day lives of our community members. But something like that, where they are actively engaged with that on a
Yeah.
daily basis, is something that I would support,
So-
spending the money to have remediated.
Just a,
But we'd only have to do the agenda unless somebody called district office and asked for the packet. to
I
be
mean, I would
reviewed.
basically be with John,
And then-
is anything prior to 1 July, we take off the website. And then put out public notice that due to legislative changes and requirements, and the cost impact to our community, that we're removing everything prior to 1 July from the website, and everything going forward.
May I suggest that it seems to me that maybe the one sort of categorical exception to that should be Parks and Rec
Yes.
stuff. Because, I mean, that calendar and also the flyers you put up.
Well, we could scale this back, but my other question was like something like this, where we have a register where that takes you to the link, and that's how they actually register for classes. Will we have to meet with Active and have them do that?
can you click it? I'm not sure what it does, for example. Does it go to like a third-party site for scheduling or?
It's ActiveNet. It's our software. That's how we have people pay. People can come to the recreation center and pay in person, or they can call.
Okay.
But 90% of the people log on to here and sign up
So
for their stuff.
truthfully, I don't actually know the answer to some of these things.
Okay.
We have a varying degree of districts. In the most simple sense, we have, districts that have one meeting a year. They post an agenda, meeting, a couple resolutions, that's the end of it. That's a piece of cake. You have by far one of the more complicated districts with the way you provide services to your residents. I don't know if the calendar can be remediated.
Okay.
It looks like literally my work calendar.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something to be remediated. I don't know if Streamline can do. I'm certain that Headley Creative does not have an option for a calendar in that format.
The nice thing is it's Google, so when we live update, when we're in a room, it switches.
So I have one question in the back real quick. Neil, go ahead.
It's more of a statement. The district already has these tools in place. You just don't know it. So through the SharePoint system that's actually set up through Microsoft Office 365, there's an additional function that can be added on, and it's called Purview. Purview does data loss prevention, remediation, document management, and retention. It's all built in. So you move from a standardized website, you move to a SharePoint website, you move to a SharePoint calendar, right? You could actually do that whole thing that you're already doing with ActiveNet. You could put it on there and actually put a remediated system and retention rules on that same policy. Takes care of all of it and a lot less than $7 a page. You can build out 11,000 SharePoint websites and it don't matter, right? So it's just a matter of the SharePoint tool's already there. The district has 1 terabyte of storage per location, and I don't know what our data storage is on our Google Drives, but.
Write this
that's what
down,
we have.
John.
I have no notes.
Write
This
this
has not come
down.
up in any presentation I've seen so far, so that's where.
I work as a janitor in a day, so.
The other thing too is,
And SharePoint's WCAG 2.1 compliant?
You can actually pull the full compliance for it, so it's actually a new system that Microsoft has put out. It's called Purview. Okay, and you can do different levels of Purview on SharePoint document remediation. Here's what's really, really cool about it, is that you take all the documentation in there depending on what level you purchased. So the SharePoint that I use and the Purview that I use at work goes through and reads every document, okay? Word for word, line by line, OCR, so it's optical code recognition. And it looks for PCI compliance if I tell it to. It looks for PCI DSS, it looks for social security numbers, it looks for GDPR, whatever configuration I want to tell it that this is that type of document, right? So in government sectors, we would actually classify them as CUI, right? Classified information, or secret, or whatever level of document's on there. It'll actually go in and OCR read that document. And it'll say, okay, by classification, I'll name this file, I'll label it, I'll tag it, and then I'll put it into a folder. And then, if I know what that is, I can say that that particular label is retained for 7 years. After that, destroy it, right? So then the district no longer retains documentation that we don't need to, because by law, we're only limited to certain years as far as the documents go, right? So you can actually wash those. There's another section that's actually done in Purview that says this is a forever document. So no matter what you do, it will never be destroyed, right? That document would be probably the original plans for the district, right? Master planning documentation, things like that, it would never disappear. So you can put those type of things on that and you get a legal hold policy. On top of that, depending on the site that you set up, you can set up all your SharePoint sites to where there's a SharePoint site for the community, okay? Open, public. This document, open, public. They can see it, okay? If they go to the file folder, you can say, that document is not public. Even though it's in that folder, it's not viewable by the district.
Do you know of a SharePoint website that is public now that we could look at as an example of what you're describing?
Sure, UnitedStatesAirForce.com. So you can go to USAFA, USAFA Web, EDU, United States Air Force Cadet, type in USAFA01.SharePoint.com. I believe that's the link. I mean, I have it on USAFA01. They've got a full public front-facing website.
USAFA.
USAFA
uses that too.
01.
.SharePoint.
.SharePoint.com, I believe.
When you say that your company uses it, do you mean that your website is a SharePoint website?
I don't think it has.
We have an external public
Type in
website
United
and then
States Air
also
Force
an
Academy.
internal one that only employees
See if
can
it just blows,
access.
because
And the external one is a
the Air Force
SharePoint
Academy
website?
doesn't build its own websites. In fact, most of the government is not running on its own websites anymore. They're actually using, so that's a SharePoint site.
When you say that it's a SharePoint site,
Mhm.
does that mean, is SharePoint the platform like WordPress is a platform?
It is a platform strictly set up like Microsoft. It runs through certain guidelines. You can set up site configurations. You can do full construction. So some of what our counterpart teams that I work with actually build everything in integration for this. So you've got athletics departments, you got everything that the Air Force Academy does, and they're not the only ones that do that. Now the fun part is that this entire system actually backs into Teams. Yeah. So it's a complete working back end for Teams communication. So you can build a calendar in Teams for your group,
Yeah.
right? And your 3 members can build that calendar every day. And then we can say, web host that on a SharePoint site to show it to everybody in the
Same.
district.
Go to a new page, go to coloradosprings.gov.
So, but SharePoint, cost-wise, you can just bolt that on. You'd have to get some pricing on Purview, and then outline the
It's
DLP
the new
policy.
website, so I'm assuming it's SharePoint on also. Because we're on Microsoft 365 platform now.
So the district is already looking at moving to a government license for 365 anyways. Something that I discovered was that our previous licenses weren't giving us the right capabilities, both from like a cyber security perspective as well as some just day-to-day operations. I'm actually having a meeting tomorrow with Verticom about moving us to a government license. So I assume with that being said, we will have these additional capabilities, and I will talk to
Because
them.
we could actually switch from an org site to a
.gov.
GOV site, because we're an
Yeah.
extension of state government anyway,
Correct.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be the SIPO would be the .gov.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean,
You still pay for remediation of the documents though. It is, so it kind of, yeah.
What type of remediation? you-
but if we're uploading them there and it already provides that under the purview plan or purview process, why would we have to pay?
Well, if it's, so, I
So
mean,
what's
this
the
should,
definition of remediation?
I mean, because SharePoint
Remediation
already
would-
provides remediation.
remediation being you take a document that, if I just typed up a Word document and saved it, it would correct spacing, add header functions, add alt text commands, things of that nature. So that a screen reader would then read it appropriately.
Which it already, I believe, the SharePoint, the new SharePoint under 365 already
The
does that.
SharePoint won't do that particular portion, but you're already running another tool that already does that with compliance, which is Adobe. So when you format those, you can actually set out to make a phone call to Adobe, and Adobe actually does full digital compliance in Adobe Docs. You click a button that says accessibility, and it'll reformat the entire document for full screen read, digital, PCI, everything.
So we
handicap
have
compliance.
test ran that, and the issue we have so far is that it's 2.0 compliant, it's not WCAG 2.1 compliant. So it doesn't fix some of the spacing issues, is kind of the main area of concern. Now, that said, all this comes down to some liability, where, is someone gonna bring a lawsuit for that? I can't answer that. July 1st is gonna be interesting, because in theory, we could see a ton of demand letters get sent out, just trying to see who bites. We might not see any. We're, I think, about the third state to run through this at this level of compliance. Florida and California were the first, and both of those saw a wave of litigation in the first month. Just pay us $3,000, we'll go away type of litigation. The one thing I'll add this though too, what the statute currently has built in though is, at least for the first year, is that if you basically put an accessibility statement on the website and say like, hey, we have a compliance officer, here's what we're working towards to getting things fixed, even if we're not 100% in compliance at that point, essentially there's a safe harbor that carries through July 1st of 2025. So as long as efforts are being made, the district's in good shape. It's really, if the district does nothing come July 1st, then there's some concern. There's also current legislation looking to push out the start date of this until July 1st of 2025, but that has not been approved yet.
I tend to think that no matter what we do, SharePoint, Streamline, whatever, that there's a huge quantity of stuff on the website that.
That will go away,
Yeah.
that won't be on there anymore.
Yep.
It's this is one of those things where it's was not anticipated.
But if we take everything off of our website that we don't deem necessary, and we do have access to the software to do what it needs to do, we can be building all of that to put back on the website later when we decide that, okay, we have enough stuff done. Or we think that, all these IGAs should be on there, or whatever.
So what is the best plan going forward? I mean, do we want to look at one of these? Do we want to look at the switching over to SharePoint? Where are you at with the GOV licensing? A lot of that's got to take place before we even know what we're going to request from these companies.
I already know the pricing for GOV, so it's not cheap, but it's less than what a premium account would cost. So that's really not the issue. It's just more figuring out the details of, okay, we make this change. What is this change going to encompass? What are we going to have to do internally, externally? So I'll find out those details tomorrow. So my recommendation would be, let's hit it on all aspects, right? Let John continue talking with Streamline. I think that's the best option, at least from the 3 proposals that I've seen. And let's figure out what that would look like. In that vein, I would say the board needs to decide what are those critical documents that you would want on the website.
Thank you, Neil.
The second thing, The other work stream that I will work on is SharePoint. Is if we go to SharePoint, will it do all the things that we need to be compliant for 2.1? And if it is, then we just meet back in the middle and say, okay, John, what do you got? Carter, what do you got? And then the board decides.
And we'll also, I need you to also look at what required documents are required to be on there by statute.
By statute, because we were founded before 2000, nothing.
None.
But if we
No,
do decide to have a website, what documents are required?
All the board.
None.
Yeah, so just to be clear, the district's not required to have a website. The district's also not required to post any documents to the website. But there are a few that, like, take the meeting agenda. If you don't have a website, Carter's posting it on a telephone pole, before every meeting. So they're like transparency notice would have to be
It
mailed to all the
is
residents.
cheaper to buy a staple gun.
Can we find out when?
Pay
we
for
post
remediation.
them on the-
Right?
Yeah, so there are certain things that have to be done.
If we have a website, if we choose to have a website, anything that is on that website must be compliant, correct?
Correct.
So there are things that we have to put on there, or have to be.
Sorry, you don't have to put it on the website, but if it is on the website, then it would have to go through.
Well,
the
if we don't put it on the website, why have a website? If you're not gonna put anything on it.
But the point is, if we have a website, we have complete carte blanche to choose what to put on the website.
But I understand that, but what I'm asking is, I need each of the department directors to look at their individual piece of that website of what's on there. What is beneficial to the community to have accessible at at a click of a button? And what is something that if they needed it, they could come and request it at a later time? That's what I'm asking. We're not gonna do that. That's a function of you guys. What do you believe the community needs to have on there to have accessible right away? We deal with a lot of IGAs, a lot of different communities, so specs, things like that, we already know are gonna be a big deal. But those are also accessible. We could put on there, look at elpasocounty.com or .gov for specs, because
So-
ours mirror theirs.
For IGAs, Troy, DOLA, their information system is open to the public. Anybody can go in there, go and look at any special district, and you have the ability to post to DOLA those agreements. So that's one avenue we could take to say, okay, if you are looking for an IGA, here's a link to DOLA, go look at it, it's there.
So I would say, let's start looking at transitioning some of that stuff there. Let's not skimp on the day-to-day stuff like Park and Rec. We need our fees on there, so the community members, new community members, you can put something on there for like the realtor packets. Realtor packets are available, but you come to the district office to pick them up. We're not gonna put them on the website or anything like that. Come to the district office, we'll print you one out real quick or have them readily accessible.
Even the standards and specs, I know a lot of the developers, you can grab them on SharePoint or something, Dropbox, something like that.
I mean, simple stuff, like if you're looking for our specs, contact Wally or JD and they'll provide you a copy. Simple stuff. Let's try to simplify that website as much as possible, but still maintain high level of service to the community. If we have this information for you, and then we need to be prepared with some kind of public announcement that, hey, we know the website looks like a lot of information is not being provided anymore, but due to regulations that take effect 1 July, we've had to minimize the amount of information that is published on the website, but it is available if you contact the right places. And let's minimize it that way and try to really flatline the website a little bit. Some of this stuff we need to definitely keep on there. The Park and Rec stuff, that day-to-day stuff. The one thing that I didn't see, I know you guys have been getting a lot of questions about maintenance, about this side of the district's when's this side of the district gonna get taken care of? When's this side of the district gonna take maintenance schedule? When the crews are gonna be out on which side of the district and stuff like that? Just have that available to the community. It doesn't need to be on the website.
Yeah, it's on there, but we can pull that off. Currently it is, and we'll
Yes.
pull that off and we'll just say contact so-and-so.
Because what I hear from people is, the website is big, and being able to navigate it, there's a lot of stuff on there that they gotta work through to get where they wanna be. So if we can mitigate what we have on there, I think we can save a ton of money here. And if you guys hit it from all sides on what we can do with this SharePoint thing and what we can do with, I mean, really cutting this down to bare bones costs.
And only because I want your head to completely explode, I just want to flag a piece of legislation that is in the works right now.
I'm off
Thanks,
tomorrow.
John.
I will go to the state capitol.
There's additional accessibility legislation to make meetings more accessible, and part of that may end up including all documents presented at a meeting would then also have to be made accessible proactively. So every one of these packets on the spot.
You're not getting the packet anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, bottom line is we can do the same thing. Meeting packet is available or information from the meeting is available, please stop by the district office. We are not the onus of a lot of this, so
No.
I just want to be clear. It's not a matter of our community is not going to bear the brunt of legislative. I don't want to use that term. Let me hang on.
We all know what you're
Yes.
thinking.
And I understand that we're trying to make things more accessible, more compliant with ADA and other things, but there is a point where it becomes contradictory to those programs and accessibility functions to even veterans and different folks with disabilities, where it becomes a burden on them as well, because they are also gonna have to pay a fee for that, because that money has to come from somewhere. So if we have to spend so much money every year remediating everything we do, then there is going to be a cost associated with that, and it has to be transferred on to the community.
Can't we just put the
We
word
are part of the
free in front of
community.
it?
So
Free education.
no matter how you
Free
wrap
lunch.
this, even if you took down all the websites, there's still a cost associated with people producing documents for people that are going to want them. So it's one of those, at what point do you say, okay, we're going to shut down the website. You know, if you want documents, come get them. We'll print them out, but there's going to be a fee per page.
Yeah, and I mean, truthfully, kind of the result of this is, I know when we've been doing these reviews and looking at the costs, a lot of our recommendations for newer districts is to simply remove everything except what's statutorily required. And for the moment, that's kind of the place they're in. As new documents are drafted after July 1st, those will get added, but the old documents will likely remain the old documents.
But that doesn't, so there's also transparency law out there now, which will contradict this, because we are to be transparent in everything we do, and now they're putting another piece to that, where now you have to pay to provide all this other stuff to be even further beyond that. So it's, at what point does that stop? So start working
When
on
they
that.
have
We
every
need to-
penny they
we
can
need
get
a,
from you, then it'll stop.
We need a, bottom line, when the public watches this, is make sure you elect the right people to your state legislation. That's my soapbox moment. All right, let's go on.
So just so I'm clear, as far as where we're at right now, continue the research, get a proposal together, I guess, for the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
And from that side,
Let's
will Microsoft or whatever,
Essentially,
Adobe, whatever,
Right,
do
you'll
what
get
we
two
need?
proposals, one from WBA, one internally from me. Let the board decide what they want to do.
Or
And the
if you-
two might work together.
And it sounds like
They build the website, we load everything.
So that's what we're doing, because I work for a special district, is we're making them ADA compliant, and then we actually put them on Streamline. Streamline, because I'm not super techie, Streamline is actually really easy to use. If I can operate it, it's probably usable by just about anyone else.
They have kind of a nice back-end service as well, where sometimes, back in the day, we had to tell our paralegals that were running these websites, hey, go post this notice on every one of our clients' websites, and every one of our clients, is then charged for that time. Streamline, for everyone that fits under this umbrella, at least through our firm, we can say, hey, can you guys go post this notice on every one of our clients' websites? And they can do it like that, and then there's no billing associated to it. So there can be a little bit of cost saving in that respect as well.
Is Streamline a publicly traded company or private?
It's private. At the moment, it might be the only real name in the game, though. It's probably a pretty good investment.
Was Streamline behind this legislation?
I'm gonna find out. This looks like some shenanigans. Somebody's making money off of this.
$80 a month
No, I think, yeah. And when you start talking about,
per district.
it's only affected 3 states so far, but if this is the 4th state out of 50, and you talk about, not every state has special districts, but when you talk about the overall reach of that, and the fact that if every board is sitting here with 3 vendors in front of them like this, how much money is being transferred to these particular companies?
So one kind of piece outside the scope of what we're dealing with here is that my understanding, I think it's already been approved, but I believe there's been an amendment to the interpretation of Title II under the American with Disabilities Act. So I think this is actually going to be, essentially these standards that are currently in 3 states are actually going to become the federal standard here in the very near future as well. So, we might be a year ahead of this, but I think everything's going to be kind of catching up place. I mean, the Americans with Disabilities Act has been around for 20 plus years now. So this wasn't kind of a surprise necessarily, just kind of the extent of this is a little quick.
And it serves a good function. I mean, it's getting sidewalks and different accessibility for folks that need that kind of accessibility that would have never been paid for before that. So I'm not knocking that. It's just the time frame and the way that this has come about is, I think, is being a little bit compressed. So.
And this may all get a lot cheaper here real soon, because now that no compete clauses are gone, people can go out and start their own company doing the same damn thing.
And Carter, can you work with your departments as well, just kind of if everyone can review the website and figure out what documents should be up there. Once we have that list, I can at least price out a remediation cost from Streamline and stuff. And I'll let you know too, we did go through about a dozen different vendors for that remediation cost, because that's really where the price kicks in. And $7 is actually the cheapest out of any of them. The range was anywhere from $7 to $15.50. So
Per page.
Per page. Yeah.
Could you find out the answer to this if you don't know it already? We have a YouTube channel. That's where we post all our videos.
Yep.
We have videos on it going back years, without closed captions. Do they need to be captioned retroactively?
Yeah, I think the answer would be yes. My understanding is it's just a checkbox, though. I think it's a pretty easy function. I haven't done this, so this is how it was described to me, is that basically it's just a setting you turn on and YouTube will add the captions. It was recommended to us, however, that, and that someone told me this can be done through YouTube, that as you're looking through it, just read the captions as you rewatch the meeting, because a lot of times it'll get like people's titles and names incorrectly, and it can cause trouble in that respect.
So we're gonna need you to watch and correct every meeting video going back to 2011.
So one of the things that for free, just doing my job. One of the things I'm going to have to see is whether those captions or subtitles have to be added at the time you're publishing the video, or whether they can be added after the video's already been posted. Because if the latter, we can't add them because I don't have the original.
Well, the other part of that is if you're watching it streaming, you have the capability of clicking the caption function on your streaming device. So I would almost say that that would suffice, because of the fact that your streaming device that you're using has the ability to caption that.
So the actual wording of the statute, if I'm recalling correctly, is essentially an alternative text format must be provided with a video. And that means we have to provide it. So we either have to provide the captions or we have to provide a transcript, one or the other. Or there was accessibility legislation that would have required
Well,
interpretive sign language.
the meeting minutes are available, so. Upon request.
Not on the website.
All right, let me this then. What's next?
Oh my gosh.
It's tough stuff. Wow.
Golly, man, if they can find a way to make stuff harder or more expensive for people, man, it's like
Well, there's more
battle.
coming.
I don't doubt it.
This is actually the end of it.
We don't believe you.
It's the end of this. All right, we're gonna move on. Everybody's got their, did anybody on the board have any other marching orders for where we wanna see this go? All right. I appreciate Neil stepping in and bring up the SharePoint thing. It's interesting. That would explain why we've seen the city and everybody else transition over to SharePoint
Yeah.
based programs, because they have to provide that format to them.
Yeah, that'd be real nice if that's another solution. We'll review it, see what the pricing is for conversion and stuff like that.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
Regarding,
No,
we
we've already
have,
moved on.
Did you hear me say next?
so YouTube, there's a button you can click for closed captions, and then it automatically shows them
Okay.
on a video that's already been published. That must be sufficient, right?
I don't know. My understanding is we have to provide the text-based format. So I would assume that it has to be hard-coded into the video. That's how I would read that, if that's the solution.
Well, let's get sued and then figure.
Because the other part is, when you check the CC box, it's not, I mean, unless, can you edit like what's actually being said in any fashion?
I'll look at it.
Yeah, because if you can't revise it in any way, then it really is not necessarily helpful, because if it's wrong, it's wrong.
Yeah, right.
That's why I think it has to be hard-coded. I didn't realize it's just the back of my head in all
John
these
told
videos.
us. Look at
The video is the back of my head.
$7
We set that up that way.
And I'm completely blocked. It's great. No. Let's get back up.
You know, and bottom line is, I mean, my opinion on that would be is the cost versus if somebody did sue us on that, maybe well worth just paying a fee to somebody and being done with it without, because there's, I mean, going back and trying to, those have already been posted. We would have to take them down.
But they were posted prior to July 1. It's not on our website, it's on YouTube.
So that's another good question.
Yes.
So this is one thing where we don't have good guidance. So OIT is the name of the commission that drafted these rules. I mentioned there's a provision for kind of old documents where you don't have to proactively go and pay the cost for remediation. They didn't clarify whether a document that, let's say, is on your website, but hasn't been, let's say, clicked by the public in 5 years, is that inactive? It's a little different with Woodman as well. I know our firm has kind of reviewed this, and the vast majority of our districts only have 2 years worth of information usually up on them, just because it's kind of a
We're
rolling cycle.
overachievers here at Woodman Hills.
Yeah, so our thought is, at least for that short term, everything's kind of active because it's all been used within the last year or two. Woodman actually might have a very good argument that, look, these are minutes from 2011. They're not in active use by anyone. No one's looking at them. Therefore, we don't have to provide these in accessible format until requested. And the district can certainly take that stance. I'm happy to vet it so we can kind of phrase that correctly and make sure we're covering all our bases. But that would also then carry over to the YouTube videos as well. If it's like an old document in an old folder on the computer as opposed to something, I don't know, like the agenda where people might be actively reviewing it. But I'd have to look at that further.
Next.
I would still say you have the ability to click on a streaming device, captioning, closed captioning.
So, are we good for a memo?
What's that?
Oh, I was gonna say, if you
Item
want.
10 is attorney's report. Might as well go right into it.
Still talking
I think
here.
it's
We're
just
getting our money's worth tonight.
I know.
No, he's getting his money's worth.
I can't wait to see this bill.
Yeah, he bills by the page too. It's
No,
like $10 a page.
Go by the word this time.
By the word.
So, I'll just touch base on a few of these and happy to answer questions. We were in the process of working on the amended and restated IGA with Falcon Highlands. We sent the draft to Falcon Highlands Council. We have not received red lines back yet. I've worked with Carter as well in the logistics, so everything I think should be good to go. Just once we get the red lines back, we can approve it. This is one of those things where both sides are going to have to approve it, so it doesn't do anyone any good for someone to jump the gun and approve it in advance, only to find out that changes are going to be made or denied.
And we've made Josh aware that this was coming. So they know at this point, it's cost their indecision to communicate with us is costing their district residents money. Because until they sign and then you sign, I can't do anything from a billing perspective. So going into next month's billing, I have to essentially raise their rates according to the old IGA. So instead of what we want to do, which is lower the rate, they're going to get charged more. That's it is what it is.
Okay. send this video to their residents.
It's posted on YouTube.
Send the link.
With a caption option.
Yes.
The drafting is going well with the amended interstate service plan. We've been in contact with the county. The county has officially stated they don't want a pre-draft meeting to kind of go over the service plan. I have mixed feelings about this because the model service plan for the county is worded in a way that would make it much more easier to draft for a new district. It's not really, the template is not really designed for a district that's been around for 20 plus years. So we may wind up with more than one iteration when we get the comments back because of that. But for the moment, we don't have to schedule anything, have a meeting before we get started. So the drafting is on its way. I'm expecting the draft to be in front of you guys in the next couple weeks here to get the language kind of signed off on. And then once that's approved, we pay the fee, we send it to the county. They have 21 days to review and send it back. That may go through a second review process as well. So you're looking at about 2 months there. And then it's about 2 to 3 months total to get in front of the Board of County Commissioners. So that's kind of where we're at here.
Wow, that's a lot quicker than what
Wow, that's way quicker
Than
than
what we
trying
were
to-
told
what we were
before.
thinking.
Well,
We're
well,
trying
when-
to get on the.
We were hoping to have it done
calendar.
before you and I were gone.
Okay.
Yeah, I think originally what I tried to convey was by the end of the year was kind of the challenge there. Because once, November hits, the BOCC is probably not taking a lot of service plans through November and December.
No, but just keep us updated.
Yeah.
So that we can make sure we have you guys, board representation there at the BOCC meeting.
Certainly. See if there's anything else. I think that's pretty much it for the moment. Were there any other questions?
Right on, next.
All right, item 11, review and approval or disapproval of the financial auditor proposals.
So, the board asked me to go back to Moss Adams, specifically and get a best and final offer, and that is what they provided. This is just their, original kind of application. Get to the fee stuff. I think it's actually in the next document.
And these are the people that do provide way more of a service than.
Correct. So this is their best and final.
So instead of 38, 39, 40,
Yep. 32, 34.
I like it.
It's only on the low end, right? So the other one was about 25, the other proposal. So this is only 7,000 more. But my opinion is that Moss Adams is more geared towards what we do because of all the different types of municipalities, governments, cities, towns that they support. They just have more experience in what we do. And there's other services that they provide as an ongoing partner, not just during the financial audit season, is also more robust.
I'm good with that. I think sometimes you get what you pay for, and they kind of met us halfway there, so I think it's fair.
Good.
Do we need to vote on that?
Yes.
If you can give direction to Carter to move forward with this, we'll put it in an actual IGA and ICA, and that'll be what you formally approve. So both those will cover the bases.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the Moss Adams proposal as our financial auditors going forward, and that's through 2025, and then renewable after that, correct?
Right.
Second.
And second by John. Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
While I'm talking, you want to pull up that email I sent you?
We already let you talk about Park and Rec.
I know.
The last thing.
You
We're
saw your
Yeah.
calendar. Are you-
We're done.
Good thing we got the lights fixed. Thank you, we didn't know they were out. So.
What, they were, oh, I thought the timer was
No,
off.
the photo cells were shot, it ended up being quite expensive.
Dang. Oh, never
Thanks,
mind.
Kelsey.
No, no, but it's a thing, it's a good thing you said something.
Repairs
Who
and
knows how
maintenance,
long-
just
Send you a
went up.
bill.
Wow.
Oh,
How
so-
much was this?
I
You
see
don't
Marcus's
need to know
email.
I just worry about, like, you know,
About $2 million.
young
Can we
ladies
go
walking
back
through
and-
their car and getting jumped or something.
Is there a way
That's
to
a
go
very
back
good
and
point.
look and see if there's like a black
It's
cloud
always
in the
little
video?
ladies and really young girls.
Adding a hearing for a budget.
Oh, can we make the videos animated? With like thunder clouds?
And John, we did end up moving the vehicle, so I agree with you, so.
Item 12, Park and Rec report, Marcus.
I want
Yes.
to hear about this light.
Our bridge is complete, so there's the forms will come off tomorrow, and by Monday, it'll be actually drivable on that, so this is a really good trip there. They put 6-foot floaters on these, so this thing's not, it'll last longer than any of us now on that bridge, so that'll be good.
And those kids can get their side-by-sides on over those?
Maybe.
Was this
If they
one,
only drive
Definitely
them
side by
out
sides, a pickup truck is a little iffy.
was this
It'll
one
hold
that
the
was
weight.
collapsed?
What's
Oh,
that?
Was this one that was collapsed?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the one that,
Me and my dog stumbled across it. We're like, what is this?
yeah, so we had to wait to get the good weather, and then they had to pump it, because it's constantly moving. Well, there was a lot to get it to this point. But
Good thing your dog knows somebody on the board.
Right.
I crossed it and I was like, I wonder if we know about this. And then I just kept running. So I'm sure they know.
We did.
I'm gonna stop reporting stuff.
And as you can see out here where this project is underway too, so we'll have this finished by hopefully the end of the month, weather pending. We're extending that and then adding turf, and then the fence line is gonna about double our occupancy in the pool area. And then on the Friday going into Memorial Day weekend, we're gonna have a big, instead of having the concert in the park, that we've done a pool party. So we're gonna have a summer pool party, and then we'll be promoting that and everything like that. So hot dogs, we're renting an inflatable, DJ, all going all out on that one. So if you're around on Friday night, it's graduation night, so you might.
The 24th?
Yeah, the Friday.
It
It's
is,
a Friday,
yeah.
yeah. So, you can maybe stop by early. Maybe you can have a graduation party guest.
I'll be here.
There you go.
That's it.
So,
That weekend's kind of shot. All those kids schedule their little graduation thing.
I know.
All weekend,
Yeah.
so.
but the pool will be open from the rest of the summer on, so it'll be nice. A lot of area, we'll get new furniture, more furniture, because we'll be able to accommodate more furniture, so it'll be really nice. Big thing that I got for you, I sent that big packet of our bids for the master plan.
You just want me to skip to that? Because I have your report. up.
Yeah, that would be, I'm not gonna walk you through all of those, I'll give you the
Yeah.
summary.
Otherwise, we'll be
Those.
here for hours.
Perfect.
Exactly, and it's
We
very
like
boring.
summaries.
Yes.
We can read this
Yeah.
stuff after.
So we approved 80,000 for capital expense, obviously, they all came back much higher than that. Farnsworth, 128.5, Matrix, 149, Buried Done, 199. Given all the same parameters, we didn't want to steer on what the cost and all that, so I'm pretty confident that what they came in is what they came in at. Barry Dunn's right off, and they're doing the same thing, so it came down to the other two. I made phone calls because they listed references, I knew some of the people that are on there. They didn't make it any easier, Farnsworth and Matrix, stellar, everybody said they'd work with them again. It helps them get grants in the future to subsidize the things that they recommend, different features and stuff like that, so that didn't really help. But one thing that stood out to me is Farnsworth was, and they both have local offices, because that was important to me too, to be local. Both of them have local offices. Both of them do soup to nuts, from the engineering, they have in-house GIS, they have their own architects, they can build, they can do all the things, both of them. So they're kind of equal in those ways. But Farnsworth, when you go through their listing, their deliverables, they're gonna do the same things. They're gonna do citizen input, they're gonna meet with the board, get your guys' input, they're gonna meet with staff, get ours, compile it, but they're gonna choose 2 projects to identify and do. So, it could end up being CCW and RCE. Where Matrix is a little bit more, but they're gonna do all of our property, our parks and our facilities. So we're getting more of a master plan, a comprehensive master plan on that. It is $20,000 more, but we can pull that out of lottery funds. So we'll have that, and that includes GIS. And one thing I did like about when I'm going through it, line item by line item, they are gonna emphasize budgetary stuff for, on part of master plan on Matrix. So they're gonna look at what are your staffing levels, up, down, what are you looking at potential revenues, where are some things that you could do more. They're really gonna go more in depth on some of those things. And I feel just from talking to people that this will give us a 10-year blueprint based on what our residents or us are, what we think the community needs. It'll give that 10-year template. Matrix is more capable of being a partner in that in the future. If we were gonna build a playground, they've done that and had a lot of success doing that. They can do that in-house.
My wife
Not a
really
golf
wants,
course.
my wife really wants a putt-putt golf.
Does she? Which she would.
She's dragging me all over town to go to these things.
So when you laughed before, I wasn't here, but I heard. But that stuff will come out, so.
I'm okay with the putt-putt, but we don't need to be trying to buy the golf course sitting right.
Yeah, well, we let that come to us when they want to give it to us in the future.
They're gonna have townhomes over there, you watch.
I know, I feel the same way. So my recommendation, then you can see Matrix has a nice schedule of how they're going to do it. So by April of next year is when they would come into the board, give their master plan document. We would get the 3D illustrations of the parks and open space and the facilities and things like that. And it'll all be based on citizen input instead of us just saying, oh, I think we need a mini golf or turf field or this or that. They'll actually have a blueprint in place for us that we can follow and use that.
So for $20,000 more, they would do our entire district
They
instead
would
of
do,
two.
yeah, each of our amenities, yes, we would get not just the two, we'd get our parks, open space, and the facilities.
That would be my recommendation because we use more than two things. in
Correct,
our
and in the
district.
past, that's looking at old plans that we've had, from 10 years ago, they did focus on just 2 locations, and it didn't do as much good.
Yeah, I would.
And from a budgetary standpoint, we already had earmarked money coming from lottery for this. We have plenty of money in lottery, and every quarter we get additional money from lottery anyways. So even though this is quote unquote over the original budget, the finances are there because lottery has to be utilized by Parks and Rec anyways. So from a capital perspective, the board, you have plenty of runway when it comes to that, to approve the additional funding.
Are we voting on this tonight to give you direction?
I would like that, yes.
Does anyone have
And if
any
you
other
guys need more time.
questions? I'll make a motion to go with Matrix for our strategic plan.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Stacy, second by John. No other discussion. All in favor of Matrix?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right.
Any other questions on the report?
Next.
Hang on. You had a question?
I do. I have a question not related to this.
That's good.
You have something else broken. Wait for
Oh,
it.
something's broken?
Stop it.
Black cloud, I wanna see the video. There's
Your
gotta
dog
be a black
tripped on
cloud.
I work in operations. Come on.
No,
Your
no,
dog-
great.
But aside from that question, I just have another question. The turf field with all the leaks and stuff, do y'all know when leaks will be like spending time there?
Yes. Yeah, and that's ultimately, the calendar will show that here soon.
That'd be great.
That's where we're working towards on getting all this. So we just this last week, we got the calendar and then we got it color coded for which facility. So we're still working through that. But yes, everything that's on that field is on a calendar right now. And that's what we want to get up. Football ends this Saturday. And then there's a little bit of a, what's that?
Maybe,
Oh, maybe?
because of the weather.
Oh, yeah, the weather. That's football. We plan everything.
Well, it's like a little,
Come on,
yeah, it's a
tough
little.
up, man.
It's not my fault.
What are you, the Packers?
That's not my fault.
But then the next one will be soccer, but there's a break in between that, and then
Okay,
practices. 2 weeks, I think, a 2-week break. Oh, yes, we will get on there, or just email me and I'll send you a general
I
copy.
don't wanna get kicked off the field one more time, I'm gonna lose it.
Well, there should be a portion of the small portion of the field we're not playing on. We use that for T-ball.
The little field next to I don't know, it looked like to me like an organized event was happening there.
And they may have started.
There was a
soccer.
guy with like a shirt with the coach on and little like kids and stuff, so I just wasn't sure like who it was determined that they could be there and
Yeah.
who just like pops up and like owns the space.
Yeah.
So I just wasn't sure.
Well, shoot me an email, or I'll email you what the schedule is tomorrow.
I appreciate it.
But then it will be on the website soon when we get all the sheets worked
What are the hours for the field?
till 10. So sun up until 10 p.m. and the lights should go off at 10.
So kind of unrelated but related. Did D49 drop their price on the rent of their fields over
Soccer.
at Woodland Hills Elementary? That place has been busy.
High Plains Little League was able to orchestrate that.
I think in the past they weren't renting it out.
No.
For a while, it was very hard, but D49, we've started to get a relationship. I feel like they are opening up to the community and especially us more.
Yep.
So it doesn't shock me that they're starting to be more responsive to that.
We
It's
actually have
cool
a-
seeing all those kids out there now.
We have a meeting with D49 to get updates from them next week or the week after. It's the first couple of weeks of May. They actually reached out to us and wanted to schedule it, so like Mark said.
I think it's
we're
gonna be a good
building
place
bigger
for tractor pulls, there'll be some.
What?
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
Kind of country.
This is Falcon, this
Come
is
on.
country compared to spring.
Some rodeo grass, you put a rodeo around it. I was just up in Greeley.
I'll be back.
But yes, but I'll shoot that
Last
file,
question.
or I can get it on the website. either
Who
way.
do we use for turf?
Questions?
Like who did that field?
I won't be down for that.
Academic specialties, correct? That was the name of it? Academic specialties? No,
No.
Academy.
Academy Sports
turf. I would not use them.
Really?
No.
Yeah, we will.
They're
We
not
would not
great.
partner with them again.
No.
Who
If you
else are
want-
we gonna use?
There's several companies. I got a cell that, in fact, the guys that are laying this, called Colorado Scapes. They're really good. They've done probably half the parks in Carl Springs here recently. They did Vicenza. They're the ones that laid the turf there. They're really good. And they're local. He actually lives in Woodland Hills.
Oh, it
Is that
does.
good for a
Yeah,
discount?
Yeah, we've worked with
I know, right?
Colorado
Can we
Scapes
put a
with
discount
many of
on
our
it?
clients.
Yeah.
I'll let you know when I see the invoice.
What's that?
He was asking, does that mean we get a discount? since he
Yeah.
lives in the district? And I said, I'll let you know when I get the invoice.
I feel like his pricing is fair. I'll say that. I feel like.
I didn't ask if it was fair, I just asked.
Expensive.
Just asked if it was
I
good.
feel
How many dollars
so for example, when we did the concrete around Balkan, around the turf there, we had to put that concrete around, he came at half of what any other vendor did. So he's pretty reasonable.
And he recognizes that if you charge you too much, his rates are gonna go up, because that's how it's paid for. So-
That's right,
Yeah.
that's right.
Oh, does he live here?
So,
Oh.
but that's who, and he does residential too.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
Carl
I saw that.
Scapes, he does residential too. He does commercial and residential.
This is great. I have nothing broken to report. Thank you. I haven't discovered anything, but I
If you
discovered
do,
more.
let me know.
See,
hasn't
Carter
left
never
yet
sent me
tonight,
the trails
so.
maps, so, but Leo and I have discovered more trails. Cause I don't, like the map of trails, we just run and find trails. but-
I'll say this, the people before us that did a really good job in this area about trail connectivity. That's usually something that's a real big, that you come in and you're like, how am I gonna connect this? And it's
I like
expensive.
stumble across it. I
Yeah.
like be running, I'm like, where does this path go? And then I run and I'm
I
like,
don't know.
how did I end up here? And I like didn't.
The only problem
connected.
is my predecessors paved everything, so it cost a fortune in snow removal, or just manpower.
Which-
Oh, that's
It's
right,
worse.
minus like the dirt.
I live right in the middle,
So,
Nice, okay.
right in the middle.
Thanks, Mark.
This is great.
Item 13, water report.
Right. I wonder if anyone has any questions of the water report?
I only have one question.
Yes, sir.
Any progress?
Okay, so that one right there, that's a good question. So, yesterday we talked to Ryan from Respect, And we did have a reply from the state that in order for us to use the plant, we have to do some additional work to make some contact time for treatment. And so he is drawing up those schematics and submit that to the state. And as soon as we know that we get approval for that, it might be something that we might do in-house. It's just a matter of just making a serpentine of pipe in the yard where this treatment plant is connected to it present to satisfy the state's regulations. And as soon as that is done and that, then we can get their final blessings and then we can be on our way of using the new plant.
But we still don't have a timeline.
As soon as Ryan can get that to the state and as soon as the state can approve that.
So since he missed by like 7 months of getting the stuff to him the first time, is he gonna put a rush on this, or do we not?
I asked him to do that, just to keep the throttle down on for that one. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks.
Are we getting a similar report?
What?
Item 14, wastewater report.
Alright, so just a couple key notes right here. We got, Mason had went in the headworks, or the headworks heater unit stuff. Supposed to show up about the middle of next month. We're pouring the pad in 2 weeks for it. So I'm hoping my next board meeting, when it's nice and warm out, we'll have a heater for the headworks, so.
Beautiful.
That's the plan.
Sweet.
And the other one I was kind of excited about is we have 3 workable blowers now.
Nice.
That only
Two and a
took
half
how
years,
long?
but it's been running for 2 weeks now, so.
All right.
And I think I mentioned new motors and impellers came in for Meridian Lift Station. There's a 2-year warranty on it, we're gonna try and hold off on it, but because of the warranty, we're gonna replace 2 of them and have 1 on the shelf. So probably do 1 in June, 1 in July.
Okay.
Do we need to go over the amendment? I think we already went over
No,
it.
already done.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. All right, then, I will motion we enter executive session to receive legal advice on specific legal questions under CRS 246402-4B, and that is related to litigation involving Cherokee Metropolitan District.
No, we didn't have to do anything with that.
Second?
Approved it last time.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Second,
I have
Stacy,
Stacy.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're gonna take a quick 5-minute break and then, we'll be in executive session. Now in public session. All right, item 16, items unfinished from previous meeting. Any items unfinished from previous meeting? No. Item 17, board follow-up on any older items. No. Item 18, other business. We will include in other business direction for potential mediation with Cherokee. And that will be with board approval. Setting any proposals from Cherokee to be accepted by May 15th with a mediation date requested for May 29th for 2 directors to attend if necessary in Denver. And those proposals, any proposals would be discussed at the May 23rd board meeting. And if no proposals are received by May 15th, there will be no mediation on May 29th. And that would be the direction of the board. We need to vote on that?
Vote to add the item in the direction.
So we'll vote to add the mediation direction to the district and the attorneys. So I'll motion that we add the mediation direction for the district under other business on item 18. We have a second.
I'll second.
Flip a coin.
No, go for it.
Second by Kelsey. Any other discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So that'll be included on item 18. And then I will motion that we set any proposals, or request the May 29th as a mediation date, and request any proposals from Cherokee be provided to Woodman Hills by May 15th, with discussion of that proposal at the May 23rd board meeting. If no proposals are received, then we will basically opt out of mediation and go to our regular arbitration hearing in September.
While I'm looking for that, you can.
Okay. So any proposals by May 15th, discuss at May 23rd board meeting, or a mediation date of May 29th is when our directors are available for mediation in Denver. Do I have a motion for that direction, for approval of that direction?
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, I thought we just did that.
Yeah,
No,
let me just-
we motioned to add the item to the agenda.
Ah,
Now,
like-
okay, and then second by John. So motion by Stacy, second by John. Any other discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. That'll be our direction for the district. Any other business? Anybody? All right. I get a motion for adjournment.
motion we adjourn.
I'll second.
Go for it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.